Good morning. Welcome. My name is Trish McFarland. I am just going to wait about 30 seconds until we get started to allow our attendees to log in. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar this morning. My name is Trish McFarland, and I'm the president of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce. And we are thrilled to partner with PECO to bring you this fantastic webinar this morning. PECO has launched a racial equity capital fund in partnership with the Exelon Foundation to expand access to capital to minority businesses so they can create more jobs, grow their companies, and reinvest in their neighborhoods and community. The fund builds on Exelon's longstanding history of supporting the underserved and under-resourced communities and further delivers on Exelon's commitment to drive economic equity and opportunity for Exelon's community. Please join me now in welcoming Justin Claiborne. And Justin is our presenter today, and he's going to tell you a little bit about who he is, the company he works for. And as Justin has his presentation, please feel free to ask questions. You can put them in the chat, raise your hand. Justin really wants this to be an interactive session. Justin, thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Trish. Thank you. Thank you to the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, the PECO team, Exelon as a whole, and really giving us the opportunity to present here today. As Trish mentioned, really want this to be a conversation. I've created a few slides that I'll walk through, but at any time, if there are any questions, feel free to jump in, and so we can answer those questions. And so what I will do, I'll share my screen, and then please let me know if everyone can share. Let's see. So let's do a slideshow. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So, taking a step back, I work with a firm called the Rock Creek Group. Rock Creek is based out of Washington, D.C., founded in 2003, and is a global investment management firm. So as of today, Rock Creek manages about $16 billion in assets under management, primarily from institutional investors, those being pension funds, endowments, and other institutional investors. And so, Rock Creek in itself has a very long dated history in investing into minority and diverse managers. Today, we've invested about $8.2 billion in diverse managers, and another close to $5.5 billion really focused on impact investments. And so Rock Creek earlier this year, so in March of 2022, collaborated with Exelon Corporation to launch the Racial Equity Capital Fund. The Racial Equity Capital Fund is a very impact-driven investment vehicle that was set up to address the inequities that a lot of minority businesses face in raising capital to truly scale their operations. I believe, probably everyone on this line has heard the challenges that, minority businesses face in going to a traditional bank, and unfortunately being turned down because, typically banks like to lend within a box, or just being overlooked from other alternative investors because that minority businesses' financing needs may just be too small. And so, what we're looking to accomplish with the Racial Equity Capital Fund is provide customized financing solutions to small minority businesses that will allow them to catalyze their growth. As you'll see in a few other slides, we're very industry agnostic and are targeting investments between $150,000 to about $1 million. Kind of going to the next slide. So, within the partnership of Exelon and the Rock Creek Group, Exelon and Exelon Foundation committed an aggregate $36 million to be invested back into the communities they serve, really covering their 6 utilities. So as you can see, within the PECO kind of Philadelphia market, we have $8.3 million to be invested over the next 3 years. One of the things that, very appreciative about Exelon is that, our funds are very flexible, meaning we can invest both debt and equity into these businesses. On the debt side, those financing opportunities can be used to fund, short-term working capital, so such as like lines of credit, or more longer-term permanent financing, such as term loans. And then on the equity side, I think we can get pretty flexible in investing in either common or preferred. I will caveat on, equity investments. We're looking more for technology-enabled businesses who may have raised a Series A or Series B financing round, where we can participate in that next subsequent round to ultimately kind of round out the fundraise for that business. As I mentioned, the Racial Equity Capital Fund is very impact driven. And so, as we look at investments, we're not only trying to determine, can this business be in a position where they can grow, hire new employees, scale their revenues, but also, repay the monies, but also, how are these investments really catalyzing social and economic impact for both the business, their communities, as well as the owners. So kind of looking on the right-hand side of this page, when we think about what are the characteristics of businesses that we'll focus on and look to, provide financing to, first, we are defining minority businesses as BIPOC, which stands for Black, Indigenous, or people of color. And so, each of these businesses need to be BIPOC owned or majority BIPOC owned, so 51% or greater. The business needs to be headquartered within, the 6 utilities, kind of like that service market of Exelon. So for this conversation, specifically within PECO service territory, we're looking for businesses who have a minimum of 2 to 3 years of operating history. And so what I mean by kind of operating history, it's not that, hey, we filed our LLC, 2 years ago, but we haven't really been in business. Ideally—
Attention, please. Attention, please. This is the test of the fire and voice alarm system.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There is no need to take any action.
I'm sorry for this.
Oh, no, Justin, it's totally fine. When you're ready and your alarm goes off, we'll be good to go. So as we're waiting for the alarm to, for Justin's alarm to go off or stop, I want to remind our attendees that Justin is taking questions throughout the presentation. So please feel free to put them in the Q&A, the chat, or raise your hand and we'll make sure they get answered.
Sorry about that. I saw, so I'm sitting in a hotel right now. But nevertheless, so, going back to the operating history, we're really looking for those businesses who have been, operating for the last 2-3 years, because for us, we want to see that there's some proven track record that the business is able to, do or accomplish whatever it is their core line of business is. Ideally, looking for businesses who have near-term tangible growth opportunities or growth contracts that they have the capacity to take advantage of, just don't have the capital to actually hire additional personnel or hire the equipment that's needed to grow those businesses. From a size perspective, really don't have minimums or caps when it comes to revenue. But there's a financial term called EBITDA, which stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. And as bankers, we kind of see this as a proxy of cash flow. And so if businesses have kind of upwards of $10 million of that financial term EBITDA, our view is at that point you can access traditional bank financing. And we're really targeting those businesses that I like to say are on the cusp of growth, but for their lack of access to capital. Kind of moving forward again, looking for businesses that catalyze both social and economic impact. And we have, I think in 2 slides, kind of sample impact metrics that we'll target tracking. And so we can talk through those. And then, just two examples, and by no means is this the only example of, financing opportunities that we will look at. But for the first kind of debt financing, a business who contracts with a public or private entity to supply goods or services, and that business needs, capital to fund working capital or business expansion is something that we would look at from a debt perspective. And then also from equity, again, looking at, primarily tech-enabled businesses who have completed previous equity rounds and is currently in market trying to raise a new round. I'll stop there to see if there are any initial questions from the audience.
Justin, we do have one question from Keith Collins, and he asked, can nonprofits benefit from this plan? Okay, gotcha. And I'll remind everybody else that's on the seminar with us right now, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat, the Q&A portion of the bottom of your screen here, and Justin will answer them live as we go through this. So we just asked the question about are nonprofits eligible? So if anybody has any other questions as we go through, please type them in the Q&A or the chat because we would love to answer them.
Yeah,
this, nope, you're good.
So great question, Keith. Unfortunately, today we are not targeting nonprofit businesses. We are targeting for-profit, kind of small minority-owned businesses.
Justin, I have another question. Can you give an example of a company that has enjoyed success? Have there been companies that have been able to participate in this?
Yes. So to date, we've closed one investment, and we haven't. So we're in the process of working on the.
Attention, please. Attention,
I am so
please.
sorry.
No, Justin, it's totally fine. So I'll remind everybody, if you have any questions, please let us know, write it in the Q&A or the chat, and Justin will answer the questions throughout the webinar this morning.
Okay, it said it's completed, so hopefully no more interruptions.
No, we're good. We got this.
So the fund, we went live in March of 2022. To date, we've made one investment, and we're very close to making a second investment. We're trying to tie everything up by the end of the year. We haven't kind of made the press release, and so I'll be high level. But Trish, once that press release is made, we'll share it with you so you can kind of send to those attendees on the call today. But the business, it is a Black women-owned technology company based out of Baltimore that is looking to reinvent the way that the construction industry hires labor for a lot of construction projects. For the last decade, they were focused more on the consumer side. So imagine that you are a homeowner and is looking to do a home renovation project, but you don't have a Rolodex of general contractors that you can call, that you have a relationship with and that you've done work with previously, for them to come in and do that home renovation project. And so they've created this technology platform that will basically onboard local general contractors, ensuring that they have the capacity, the track record, the capital to perform on that home renovation project. And then you as a consumer can come to the platform, post your project, and the technology has an algorithm that will connect that homeowner with local general contractors to, connect, match the two, enable, that homeowner GC to run the project from beginning to end on the platform. Kind of like the legacy business. They approach the Racial Equity Capital Fund because within the US, there are a lot of business diversity programs, whether from the federal, state, or local side, that are mandating minority participation on government-funded projects. And so they wanted to kind of utilize the same technology, but rather than onboarding general contractors, they will onboard certified minority women business enterprises, build profiles for them, again, vetting them, ensuring that they have the capacity to perform and, whatever scope of work is their sweet spot. And then they're partnering with developers and prime contractors who are actively looking for these minority businesses to participate on the project. And so that business was in market raising a $5 million convertible note, and we invested $1 million into that business. Give you another example, we were looking at a commercial contractor who had recently won, a contract to do some work for a local governmental entity and needed working capital financing to kind of float them through the project. Because, a lot of, these government projects have a timing gap for, when the work needs to be done and when the business ultimately gets repaid for the work. And so we're looking at that opportunity of providing them financing as well.
That's fantastic. We did have another question. This one's from Nicole, and she says, do you support art programs? She has a production company that deals with the youth and families that provide services and jobs. And I know that you already answered a question a few minutes ago about nonprofit status, but not sure if this would be a nonprofit as well, but maybe you could answer the question if this was something you would be supporting.
Yeah, so I'll go to the next slide because I think this is helpful.
Okay.
So, so long as the business, this art program business is a for-profit business, we would look at, trying to determine, what the financing need is of the business and how we could be of help. Kind of as shown on this slide, we are very industry agnostic. Just because the monies are coming from Exelon, it's not as if we're focused primarily on energy, related companies. But, I would say there are, I can probably list the industries that we will not invest in. And, I think of those as the sin industries and, businesses that are operating in gaming, alcohol, cannabis, payday lending that just traditional lenders just won't touch. Being very impact driven, agnostic, and, would love to get a better understanding of Nicole, that, and this could be something offline, and I'll put my email address into the chat. But, we really want to understand, what your business is, and how capital could help, continue to scale those operations. And kind of going to the next slide. So, one item that I haven't touched upon yet is within each of Exelon's utility service markets. So, PECO to be specific, we have established partnerships with a local minority institution. So within Philadelphia, we are working with the United Bank of Philadelphia, and it's really for two reasons. The first is, because Rock Creek Group is based out of Washington, D.C., really trying to work with other organizations so we can get a better feeling of how can we attract, the growing local minority-owned businesses kind of within that greater Philadelphia market. And again, thank you to the chamber for setting this up. But then also, how can each of us leverage our funding capacity to increase the amount of investments flowing into not only the greater Philadelphia market, but for some of these smaller minority-owned businesses. And so one aspect that we're trying to develop is just kind of like an ecosystem of entities that, because I guess one thing we've learned is, a lot of minority businesses are kind of subject matter experts when it comes to their particular core line of business, but could use help in some of the ancillary departments, whether it's finance, accounting, legal, and risk. And so, what we're looking to do is create an ecosystem of local organizations who are all focused on really driving and determining how can we create sustainable minority-owned businesses. And so, working with the United Bank of Philadelphia, as well as the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Philadelphia, of trying to create this ecosystem to support minority businesses. And then I believe the last slide, so I touched upon some of the impact metrics that we'll be tracking. And as you can see, some of them depend on economic growth, and so tracking the number of companies financed, uh, uh, those companies that are within underserved or traditionally underrepresented communities. How are the investments into these companies catalyzing revenue growth on an annual basis? Looking at employment, and so with the investment, are businesses retaining employees? Are they hiring new employees? What does that job creation look like? With those new jobs, what are the wages that are being paid by the businesses? Are they kind of above what is the kind of industry or kind of community norm? And then also, when you look at it from a community development perspective, are these businesses, truly kind of generating additional impact within the local community, such as, are they sourcing, resources, right, from other local businesses, or do they have some type of programs in place that are kind of giving back to that local community? Again, I'll stop here because I believe this is my last slide. And so I'll stop sharing, but really, want to open it up to the audience to see if there are any other questions that I could answer.
Looks like we have another question from Jim Turner, and he said, will you work with business association or groups that are specifically serving the BIPOC community in Delaware County? And I guess we could even be broader than that, because it sounds like your reach is a little bit further than just specifically Delaware County.
Yes, we will. We'd love to understand more with those business associations, what their line of business is. Here, I guess if I could, Trish, can I drop my email into the chat?
Oh, absolutely.
Hopefully, host and panelist. Would love to have kind of follow-up discussions, whether it's on, businesses that believe they can benefit from capital from the Racial Equity Capital Fund, as well as, some other organizations who believe like, hey, excited about the mission, would love to talk about how we could play a part. Because I really believe it takes takes a village, right, to ensure that we are as successful as possible with not only finding, these businesses, making the investment and ensuring that we're bringing other resources to the table to ensure that these businesses are successful as possible.
That's fantastic. So as we are finishing up the presentation, I'm going to invite everybody to put their questions in the chat or raise your hand. We can allow you to speak. And if you have any questions for Justin, and if not, for those of you that are viewing this live, Justin put his email address into the chat. So please feel free to copy and paste that and reach out to Justin. And if you're viewing this after we record it on YouTube, then we will make sure you can access Justin's contact information so you can follow up. And if you believe your business is able to take part in this fantastic investment, Justin would love to talk to you and find out a little bit more.
I'll also add, the Racial Equity Capital Fund, for those businesses who believe they could take value into the program, we have a application process. And so what I'll do, I will insert the so you can either email me directly or email, so it's RECF inquiries at therockcreekgroup.com. And that kind of email goes to basically the Racial Equity Capital Fund team. And they can share additional information about the fund if there are follow-up questions, or also the link to the application if there's interest.
Fantastic. And we will get the link to the application as well that we can share with people, and as well as the inquiries. So if anybody has any questions or would like more information, please let us know, and we'd love to connect you, because this is a fantastic investment into the community. Hold on, I think we have another Q&A. Do you see, how soon, Justin, how soon are these funds allocated, and how long is the application process?
So our investment period is really over the next 3 years, right? I'll say that, number one. Two, the investment fund does not have a finite life, meaning when we make investments and the businesses repay those dollars, we're then able to redeploy that money back into the community. And so, we're very incentivized to ensure that, we're finding those businesses who, can be, as successful as possible, and ultimately repay the money, so we can help other businesses kind of within that that service market. To answer the question on the actual application, the application itself is probably 10 to 15 questions. What we try to capture within the application is getting a good understanding of, who is the business, where have they been historically, where are they today, and then what does the future look like? Kind of upon submitting the application, we like to set up kind of introductory phone calls with the business owners to walk through the application. And from there, if there makes sense, may bring in the team at United Make of Philadelphia, and really kind of go through a traditional due diligence process where we're trying to get a better understanding of, the business, the current opportunity that the business is looking for financing for, and will this business be in a position to, not only drive impact, but also be in a position to repay the monies. And so it's tough to put, it will be X amount of days. I think it can kind of be collaborative based on, if we have questions, what's the turnaround time for getting answers to those questions? But I'll say, for businesses that need money for, specific opportunities that have a set date, I believe we can move as quickly as possible. We'll try to move as quickly as possible to meet that timeline.
And Sarah McCullough asked if we could say your email out loud.
Yes, for sure. So Justin, Justin, dot Claiborne, CLAYBORN, as in Nancy, E as in Echo, at the Rock, ROCK, Creek, CREEK, group, GRUP.com. So Justin.Claiborne at the Rock Creek Group.com.
Thank you so much, Justin. Are there any more questions or any more information that we might have missed this morning that you would like us to elaborate on? And by us, I mean Justin.
Happy to do so. So feel free with any questions.
I'm trying to get better at that long teacher pause. We have 2 hands raised. Cheryl, we're going to go to you first. I'm going to click the allow to talk. Cheryl, if you'd like to unmute, you can ask your question.
Good morning. Back during COVID, I had applied for funding through the BP. The EIDL program. But one of the things that came back, because I have a kitchen that I operate out of in Westchester, PA, and that particular zip code and area wasn't deemed like a Chester address. However, the Chester business is seasonal, which I operate February through November. Would I run into the same problem because they kind of just took the kitchen address and dismiss the business that I operate and provide jobs for the city that I operate in the city of Chester.
So sure, I would ask you, so it sounds like you have a few locations that actually handle the operations, but where's the business actually headquartered? Like, do you have an office?
No, it's not an office. I just rent the kitchen space in Westchester, and then I have the stand that I operate from February through November inside of the stadium.
Okay, so you work as part of, I'm gonna, maybe like a commissary kitchen or a kitchen that somebody else owns and operates, but that's where you cook your food to kind of be compliant with health department codes, and then you sell
Yes.
it in another location. Okay, Justin, does that answer your question?
It does. And so I guess, and bear with me on, kind of the geography of Philadelphia. So within each of those two locations, are those based within PECO's service market?
They both
Yes.
are, Justin. Yeah.
Okay. So then, yes, from kind of ensuring that your business is based within our service market, Cheryl, you could apply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and now, Angela, I am going to give you the opportunity to ask your question as well.
Okay, good morning. Thank
Good
you. I'm sorry, it's disabled. I'm unable to submit in the chat. I
I'm
just
so
wanted to
sorry.
know if the application process was open, and I know that he's, I believe when I jumped on, he stated it was not, it hasn't been sent live yet, but are we able to submit application for our businesses now?
Absolutely. So the application has been open since March of this year. There is no deadline for when a business can submit an application. This really will be an ongoing process because we are investing these dollars over the next 3 years. And so kind of
Okay.
unlike the, EIDL loans, or unlike some of the other, government kind of COVID stimulus monies that had a set deadline, we are not that, right? And so, please email us so we can send the application, but there is no set deadline,
Thank you.
of course.
Any other questions? Happy to give you the opportunity to talk if it's easier than putting it in the Q&A. Okay. Well, I think that, Justin, thank you. I think that's it. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for sharing your information. This is an amazing investment in the community, and we're thrilled to be able to partner with PECO, with your company, and bring this opportunity to all of the businesses, the BIPOC businesses in the PECO service region.
Yeah, again,
Looks like we have another question. Okay. You mentioned we should email so we can get the application. Is that correct? Or would you? Okay, go ahead.
That is correct. And let me see if I can get the actual here. If you bear with me, I will provide the link to the application.
And as Justin is sharing this information, I'm copying the information. So when we send out this link, we can send out the Justin's email address, the email address for inquiries, and the application. So this way you can have it all in one place. If you're driving or if you're in the car and you don't have the ability to copy and paste this, we will send this out to all of the registered attendees this morning. Okay, I am going, it looks like Nicole has a question. So Nicole, if you want to unmute, you'll have the opportunity to ask your question.
Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. I just have a question, Justin. My business is, it's like in the middle of, it could be nonprofit, but it's not. It's for profit, but I do various things in the community for families, far as career services. I supply jobs through commercial janitorial, through productions. So my target area is youth and, families in low to medium communities, with giving them skills so that way they could be able to provide for their families alongside of jobs. So yeah, lately I've been just running into problems with getting funding, and I don't know how to structure it or even communicate it to show how it is beneficial for the community without it so much being like nonprofit.
Nicole, can I suggest that you send me just an email directly?
Okay.
And we can coordinate a call offline, and so we can like
Okay.
really walk through the business or talk through the business
Okay.
and understand, what would be kind of the best positioning
Okay.
for you in the business. But does that work?
Absolutely.
And then did you see my email address into the chat?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Justin, thank you so much. And if we don't have any more questions, or if you don't need more information, Justin, is there anything else you want to leave us with before we close this morning?
Yeah, again, just want to say thank you. Thank you to the chamber. Thank you, Trish, for being for putting this together on behalf of Rock Creek and the Racial Equity Capital Fund. But also more importantly, thank you to the attendees. This fund really was created for minority businesses, and so I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to me speak. And again, feel free if you all have any questions, and because I know I'm the type of individual that I typically after the fact. So if you all have any questions, please either email me directly, email the Racial Equity Capital Fund inquiries email address, because we are here to help.
Justin, thank you. For those of you that are listening and think a friend might be able to benefit from this, we will send out the link to the recording and with Justin's contact information, as well as the link to the application and to the inquiry email. So I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us, specifically PECO for helping us to put this fund together and this webinar this morning. And Justin, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for presenting, and thank you for sharing this information that's going to help so many BIPOC businesses.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we really appreciate everybody's time this morning. Hopefully you have a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.